Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Colin Ulrich, and today we're going through the last of the new divisions coming on out from the second wave DLC for Steel Division Normandy 44. So what are we going to be looking at? That's right, it's going to be the 16th Luftwaffe, and we have two different versions of the deck to take a look at, but let's instead just look at the overall division itself. Now, in the fluff, it does note that the 16th Luftwaffe is given often outdated equipment, and dear God, is that true. Dear God, is that true. So the division overall is getting 100, 150, and 100 again in terms of supply. So a nice bell curve to go throughout the actual match. And God help me, they do definitely require the help. Now, while they look beautiful in blue and camo, I'm assuming for some reason they think that's going to make them be camouflaged at both the air and ground at the same time. The recon is nothing special. You have Fusiliers, of course, that give you these lovely, lovely Faust patrons. But more humorously, perhaps, is the fact that they have these Leichte MG-15s. These are, if my information is correct, these are basically World War I machine guns. And coming along with the MP-28 Bergmann, these guys, yeah, they don't have anything that's really up to date. At best, being given the Kar-98s. So that's kind of funny right there. Now, Phase B, you are given Fusiliers, which are, first of all, just as good as their A counterparts, but getting 5 to a card pretty nifty as well. Infantry, though, is where everything starts to kind of fall apart already for the 16th. As was intimated before, these guys are given supremely outdated equipment. All of them are disheartened. So again, there we go. Conscripts, war-weary or unwilling. 25% additional suppression damage. So these guys desperately need to have Führers hanging back in support. Now, while they do get Pioneers, and indeed, they're given quite a lot of later game, let's say, friends to go into combat with everyone basically being equipped in the same fashion, it's kind of hard to be excited about the ground game for the Germans. The 16th just doesn't have a lot of punch to it. And here, right here, you will see that severely outdated MG-271, so just take a quick look at that from the side. Yeah, that's a hideous thing right there. But if it's what you have to work with, it's what you have to work with. And the 16th definitely makes a good push to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the Panzer 730M. A repurposed French tank. This guy right here does a stunning 15 kilometers an hour on the road. Now, if you think that's really, really fast, then you are an American who doesn't know the metric system. That's pathetically slow. And frankly, with the armament on this guy, it's even more laughable. Mounting a single... Was it Breda machine gun? No, it's a Mac 31. Okay, so it's not even a Breda machine gun. Yeah, this tank's a complete joke. The only good thing about this is that, first of all, it comes in Phase A. And that's only 10 points per. So if you want to, you need to have like a Saloma kind of charge rushing on in. You can do that. You can spend exactly 100 tickets, so 1 minute worth of munitions, of requisition points, excuse me, and send these guys to the front, and they will die with honor. They won't die well, but they can die with honor. Now, if you want a slightly upgunned version, well, you can go for the 730C, which gives you a nice little 37mm cannon, but it's just as slow, just as bad, and just as laughable. 16th gets slightly better, though they have barely any decisions later on in terms of tanks. You get yourself a Stug, or vetted up Stugs later into Phase C. I never understood why they never put a model behind here, but, you know, them's the breaks, I suppose. But superlative penetration. It's only from 1,000 meters, and frankly, these guys are well under-armored as far as even assault guns go. Even the late-game Stug 3G is very under-armored, but he has slightly sleeker lines, so it's kind of nice there. Now, support. Thankfully, your Flammenwerfer troops are skillful enough to know that they are not being held in this division as a punishment. There's no disheartened here. They won't take additional damage, which is kind of nice. But the major call-out here, with the exception of these Stu's in Phase B, is this Sicherungs 630 half-track. Now this guy, mounting just a single machine gun, is sort of analogous to a universal carrier, so a Bren carrier. Decent speed, not amazing, but then again, not terrible either. at a very, very cheap 30 points per. Gives you a good little bit of supportive and suppressive firepower as the game moves from the early stages into the mid-game. Phase B, more and more Opal Blitzes. Because your troops are fairly poorly supplied, might be a good idea to kind of mount a couple of those in there. Though with having the opportunity as 2 to a card in Phase A, maybe not as necessary. In Phase C, you're going to have the option to bring in 5. Anti-tank. Anti-tank is, well, it's not mobile, I can tell you that much. So you have, of course, your Shreks. These guys are all disheartened as well, but at least they have Shreks, and at least they're accurate up to 250 meters. I mean, that 10 accuracy is beautiful. If that's not really your taste, well, you can have the German version, and this is not even a perfect analogy, you can have the German version of a 76mm gun, in this case a 47, mounted on the back of a Bren. So this is a poor man's martyr right here. Pathetically low armor, almost to the point that you can take it out with rifle fire. In fact, I'm pretty sure you probably could. This 47mm is a pop gun. 5 armor piercing, 1,000 range, gives you a tiny bit of HE. But it's moderately fast, I guess, on the road. But hey, when you capture what you have from your opponent, that's what you have to use. And you can see how happy these guys are to have a cannon right between the two of them and having no armor in the way. If you're willing to go a more kind of standard anti-tank play, you can go for these packs. Pack 38, again, the door knockers. Phase B gives you pack 40s. And Phase C just gives you more of the same, just more targets and units per card, as well as an opportunity to bring you a little bit of veterancy at the cost of, again, units per card. Anti-air. Now, anti-air is slightly more positive, and the reasoning behind that is, one, you have things like this Flak Panzer Bren. It gives you a 20mm cannon with a machine gun on the front to kind of suppress enemy infantry. These Flak Vierlings, which are no surprise to most people out there. We've seen these guys in the game already. What might be worth calling out is this Flak 43 37mm. So we've talked about this already in terms of the 9th Panzer. This guy is rather good at suppressing and pushing back air power from your opponent, putting up a very, very good shield of flak. And if that's not going to be enough for you, well, you can go pay a premium to bring in a Flak 36 88mm cannon. Now, of course, this is not the Flak 41, so there are some trade-offs to be had here. But bringing in an 88mm so early in the game, you can use this as a viable anti-tank platform. Heck, you can use this as an anti-infantry platform. But this guy is going to be really what you want to base your Phase A anti-tank around. Now, transitioning further, you do have this NAG 4500 37mm truck, and to me, this looks very much like the thing you would see actually in Company of Heroes 2. So, for anyone out there, it helps you know that maybe Eugene was playing Company of Heroes before they were developing their own game. Great HE firepower, decent amounts of munitions to rate of fire, and decent speed. But other than that, though, we are also going to have a Drillig version of that, which gives you 2 triple-mounted 15mm cannons on the back of a flatbed. Absolutely no armor whatsoever. But the ability to lay down a sheet of flak that so thick that I'm pretty sure the enemy pilot could probably walk on it is definitely worthwhile. And if you're gutsy enough to move it 800 meters from the front lines, an incredible amount of firepower against infantry as well. So while we get more Flak 36s in Phase B and again in Phase C, there's also the Flak, excuse me, I can't even say this correctly, Flaksvillig 37mm, and just an over-under cannon. Maybe not the best, but at the same time, 24 HE, that's pretty intense, especially against infantry, so you can use that as an anti-infantry platform as well to support your otherwise ailing troops. Now, Arty. Arty, since the 16th is such a kind of outdated and retrofitted division, you do have 50mm stovepipes, you have 80mm stovepipes, which are pretty darn good, I will say. But in Phase A, you would expect to see your opponent bringing on in the converted Zis gun from the Russian front. So this is a Vierkanone 288, and this literally just is a 76mm cannon from the Russians. They've taken it, they've retrofitted it, they put their own troops on it, and that's it. 2,600 meters of range, decent HE, AoE is pretty darn good as well. It can also be used as a reliable anti-tank platform against early to middle game tanks. Phase B brings more of the same, but also adds in the 120 mils from the Germans, and this is, a justifiably decent artillery piece from range, 1,600 meters. If you're going to do that, you might as well just pay a little bit less, get the AP for the tanks, as well as just greater range, sacrificing, of course, the HE, and probably a little bit of the mobility as well. But yes, to me, honestly, I think I'd rather just go for the Field Kanone. Now, also in Phase B, I don't know the caliber of this from the Soviets. Apparently, it's a 120 millimeter artillery piece, but again, more range, more HE, more AP. So it's a bigger and better 288. Technically considered a field howitzer, it's probably worth including in any kind of deck for the 16th Luftwaffe player. Now, air power. Air power, there's a slight opportunity for the 16th to get a little bit better, but for the most part, expect to see the anti-air really form the amount of air cover and defense of the air power for this particular division. Now, you notice right here, this is just a storage plane, right? No, not true. It's not so. You now finally have a storage plane that can call in some off-map arty. Now, there is some debate right now whether or not the storage gets a refill of the arty barrages after it leaves the battle space. I've heard reports that it doesn't. I haven't tested it yet myself. But probably more humorously for me is the fact that while there's a machine gun on it, I want to... Oh, no, they finally fixed it. They had the machine gun facing the front, actually going after the poor pilot, or maybe even his co-pilot in the back. But it looks like they fixed that particular graphic error. Phase A, other than that, you have some ground attack opportunities from the ME-109s. And the Henkel over here, of course, with that 37mm cannon sticking out the nose just underneath. Phase B gives you more opportunities to do more Focke-Wulfs, but also a couple of Junker 188s. Now, these guys are stupidly slow by comparison. At the same time, they do have mounted these MG-131s, which are pretty darn good, and like the B-26 Marauder, you finally have a viable carpet bomber. And it's incredibly good at doing that, suppressing enemy formations. Very, very good at doing that. And if you want to go and make it all the way to Phase C, you have a new toy to play with as well. And I'm not talking about this guy, even though he is mounting that 75mm cannon, which just looks ferocious on the front of that bomber. No, I'm talking about, where is it? This guy right here. So, while you can bring in more of the carpet bombing opportunities, you can also bring in a Junker 188 that basically drops 2 1,000-pound JDAMs on the battlefield. And while JDAM might not be the most appropriate abbreviation for it, these things are basically tactical. The closest terminology I could give is like a tactical nuke almost. You want to hammer somebody, you want to take somebody out for sure. If this hits anywhere near them, it will blow them to shreds. It's honestly that good. And when you have two of them drop at the same time, you shouldn't really need more than one. But if you have two, you can pretty much kiss anything you're aiming at goodbye. Now, taking a look at a deck that might be extant already, we're going to discard this and just open up that particular deck. There we go. This is my version. I'll bring up Ryan Ru's version. He was kind enough to share it with me as well. A lot of infantry. At the same time, from a recon, put a higher emphasis on bringing in those anti-tank fusiliers early on. I do have the early French tank just kind of for giggles. At some point, I'm sure I'll just probably just dump it and put something else in elsewhere. Opel Blitz is both in A and B, bringing Struas in as well as some Flammenwerfers for some what's the term I'm looking for here? Anti-garrison opportunities. Anti-tank, nothing too amazing. Really with the anti-air being the major kind of opportunities here. Bringing the Flak Panther Bren just as a nice mobile opportunity, the Flak 43s, and a couple of cards of Flak 36s. Artillery, like I said, I have stovepipes early on, but I'm also bringing on in those Russian cannons to loft around some great distance of range. And in the Luftwaffe, I'm trying to play it as an air deck right now. So given the opportunity to bring in those observation planes that can call down unholy fire on my opponent. Also have some ME-109s, as well as, this, of course, this over here, this particular Junker, which is the carpet bombing variant. You'll see other players that bring up Rangs, for example, and Rang brings in the Sicherungs, as well as sacrifices some of his artillery to go further into the anti-air, preferring to go for Flak 36s the entire way across, bring in the Drillig. I haven't tested this deck as much, but at the same time I do know it's a pretty solid deck. So between the two of us, I would probably say, if you're looking to play a well-rounded competition, you might want to go further towards his as opposed to mine. But in either case, it can be rather devastating if you can use these weapons correctly. Now, the Luftwaffe, as you might be able to assume here, is not going to be a top-tier deck. Not even remotely close to a top-tier deck. The general consensus so far is that they're kind of a gag, gimmicky deck that can be utilized in certain situations, but for the most part, on top tier, you're not going to see them played. That said, if you want a division that can give you a very unique experience, whether it's disheartened or otherwise, check out the 16th. They are oddly fun to play as long as you don't care about a ranking. But that's going to be kind of the limit of this kind of initial first look at the Luftwaffe, the 16th Luftwaffe. If you have any thoughts on my particular deck, please let me know in the comments below. If you have more thoughts about the second wave DLC, hit me up with those as well. I'd be happy to hear from you. Moving ahead, looks like there's going to be, maybe, it says that this is only the first of the division packs to come out, so it looks like we might see more. I don't know if that's really going to be the case from Eugene. I can only hope that they are committed to do so. But regardless of what you may have seen or heard today, I hope you guys come back for some more material. My name is Con Ulrich. Thank you so much for tuning on in, and I will see you guys all soon. Take it easy.